I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, February the 26th, brought to you in part by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center, one of the only standalone stem cell treatment centers in the country, not aborted stem cells, but your own stem cells used to help you heal. They have locations in Kansas City and Manhattan, Kansas. They've helped thousands of farmers and ranchers. 60% of their business are referred by past patients, and they have an 85% success rate. For more information, go to kansasrmc.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards, another monster sale for them. They're expecting 13,000. They'll be starting at 4 o'clock in the morning because that's how they do things. And likely they're going to underestimate again. They have, all month here, they've just been having record receipts there. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them break a receipt record again. Last week they did it right at 16,000 head at that one sale barn there at Joplin Regional Stockyards. But you can check them out at DVAuction.com. View and bid their sale right there, but they don't let any grass grow under their feet, guys. I tell you what, the out gate is open before the in gate's closed. Those cattle move right through there, and they do not mess around at Joplin Regional Stockyards, and they'll be having that big sale here today on Monday for the regular feeder cattle auction. An early spring, it's apparent. We've had really excellent weather here going on 3 weeks now, all through the middle part of the country. Now they've been having wet and rainy storms out on the west, and they've had some snowstorms on the east, but for where the rubber meets the road in the cattle business, right up through the middle part of the country, we've had excellent weather here for the past 3 weeks, quite a bit. And what has it done? Well, it has your grain markets down big. It has your box beef cutout values responding early. Usually they're in the doldrums right now waiting on grilling weather, but with the weather being so excellent here, people are starting to get excited about dusting those grills off. And so we did see on Friday your box beef cutout value for choice go over $300. We'll see whether it can hold that. Now there's several analysts that know more than I do, and they think that it's past 300 and will not go under 300 for months and maybe years. That would be interesting to see. That maybe we can start breaking this fat cattle market out of this trading range that has been in forever if we could get that. The early spring has got the grass fever. Of course, people have had grass fever since the beginning of the year when we had horrible weather, but these stockers are just out of sight, people. They've pretty much eclipsed the all-time record highs that we saw about 10 years ago. And most places have eclipsed those on stocker cattle. Our feedlots are full, so we know that that's a typical thing for the spring here because I haven't had a whole lot to graze on here. We've seen a lot of wheat cattle moving off the wheat here the last few weeks. It didn't last until March the 15th, which they would like to see for a typical wheat grazing season. And then of course you're going to have some people that had ample wheat, and they will be grazing that wheat out, and they could go into late April there, maybe even further there, before it starts to beard out and it really gets tough for those cattle to eat. But runs have been big. I mean, big runs in February, and not so big in January, which is causing me to call absolute bullshit on the cattle on feed report that come out on Friday. I don't know how we get that back. Maybe they'll come back in a month or so and they'll adjust that, but it's already done the damage. And I don't think it's going to hurt the board that much here on Monday. I would be surprised if it took back any more than it gave us on Friday. But it's unbelievable how they could promote that light placements, and then it absolutely has to be missed. And I'm going to show you here in just a second. But the totals that come up on feed for February the 1st were 100.4% of a year ago. We know our feedlots are full. They have been, even though we're on extremely tighter supplies of cattle, but just not very many places outside the feedlots to hold those cattle. But your guesses on the on-feed number was 100.1, so it's more than that. Now I'm going to tell you about the marketings, the third category, 99.9, which is just slightly under what the guesses were at 100.0%. But the placements, we know there were no cattle moving in January. But we didn't move any cattle in January, hardly at all, because the weather was terrible. And then we had the holiday ran further into the month than typical, so we had nothing the first week. And then the third week of January is when we had such horrible weather, and pretty much all your sale barns were closed across the country. Oklahoma City was closed, and it wasn't a holiday. You don't see that. Joplin never closes, and they were closed that third week. West Plains was closed. All of your big sales were closed. El Reno was closed. OKC West was closed. So we had hardly any marketing at all that third week. Just a few sale barns up in the northern plains that had sales, and that was on reduced receipts there. But still, your placements came in at 92.5% of a year ago, when our guesses were 88.2. And I told you that I thought it would be lower than 88.2. I thought it'd be somewhere down around 85 or something like that. Well, you just look at the numbers, and it's hard to grasp anything because we don't really know where these numbers come from. You know, I know they send out questionnaires and things like that. Who's going to be honest on any of them? I don't understand. I work for USDA, not in the National Ag Statistics Service, but I did meet some of those people, and it would be impossible for those people to check their work because they have no rational view of what they're supposed to be recording. So you just look at this, but your placements, so your placements come out at 92.5% of a year ago. That 92.5%, that means that what they came in to be, what they guessed them to be compared to what it was a year ago, it was going to be down 144,000 head. Okay? That 1 week in January, we were 170,000 head short on our nationwide auction receipts as reported by the National Feeder Cattle Summary, and that doesn't get all of them, but it gets a lot of them. It's a best test to try to pick up receipts. I put that report together over 20 years ago. I revamped that report, and I gathered all the receipts that we could possibly gather through federal state market reporting. So just that 1 week of auction receipt reporting on the National Feeder Cattle Summary was down 170,000, but what they said our placements were down was 144 for the whole month. Now look at your auction receipts for the whole month. For the whole month of January, auction receipts were down 342,600 head. That is bullshit what they put out on the placement. It makes no sense. They cannot rationalize it any way, shape, or form. Not a lot of direct cattle moving in January. The roads were so bad, the weather was so tough, no cattle trading anywhere, and it should have come in all-time record light there, and it didn't. And I'm not sure if anybody did that for any kind of a reason, if they were trying to slow this market down or anything like that. I don't believe there's anything like that going on, but it's absolutely ridiculous when you can just blatantly see how they missed that quote there on your cattle on feed report. And I just hate the cattle on feed report. I don't know why we have to wait every month and then pull a cape off of it and then just stand there and wait to see what the board's going to do on Monday as a jolt to the industry. It makes no sense. They should let us see that information as they gather it if they think that they have to put it out. But, you know, whatever. But I'm definitely calling bullshit to that placement figure. And anybody else that knows what's going on can see that it wasn't near light enough either. Let's talk about your board for last week. February live cattle futures. Monday was a holiday. Tuesday was down 37. Wednesday down 42. Thursday down 47. And then Friday came raging back at up 210. With your February live cattle futures ending the week at 185.60. That was up 83 cents for the week. April ended at 187.90, up 35 cents for the week. March feeder cattle, Monday was a holiday, of course, and then they were up. Tuesday was up 35. Wednesday was down, but just 2 cents. Thursday was up 70, and then Friday up 252. With March feeder cattle ending the week at 254.57, up 355 for the week. Big gains there because most people did what they could. They looked at the ways they figure out what the placements are, and they assumed that they were going to be really bullish. They had no idea where they were going to come up with these numbers that they posted. Your April feeder cattle, 259.97. That was up 642 for the week. My goodness, but grains were down. March corn ended the week at 399 and 3/4. Under $4 a bushel, guys. That is huge. To end the week under $4 a bushel for corn, down 16 3/4 cents. Beans ended the week at 11.33, down 39 1/4 cents a bushel. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for March ended the week at 5.68 3/4. That was actually up 1.5 cents. Talk about your fat cattle. Up through Thursday, we had only sold 1,700 head of fat cattle in the entire 5-area feeding region on a direct basis. That is not enough to have any price discovery. We only get price discovery on fat cattle late in the week. And so we did see that on Friday. But up through Thursday, all of last week up through Thursday, we had only seen a handful of fat cattle sell on a live basis from 180 to 181. Dress basis from 288 to 290. And then on Friday, it come uncorked. Mostly after the cattle and feed report, so that's not going to hurt our fat cattle trade, which it shouldn't have any effect on it anyway, but a lot of times it will lend some bearishness if it can, but most of them traded after cattle and feed report come out there, or we saw continued trade after the cattle and feed report. But Iowa sold 5,500 on Friday with live prices from 180.5 to 184. Dress price from 290 to 292. Nebraska sold 11,200. Live price 182 to mostly 183. Dress price entirely 292. Kansas sold 9,000. Live price 182 to 183. Pretty well split. And then Texas 3,800 on Friday. They had a few more, and they had a few sell earlier in the week, but not many. And your live price in Texas was 183. So as a whole, your Southern Plains was $3 higher at 183 than before. Northern Plains $1 to $4 higher at mostly 183. And your dress price in the Northern Plains was $4 to $5 higher at 292. These receipts that I gave you are likely going to be a lot bigger by the time they get them all rounded up. But pretty good movement. Of course, we didn't get any price discovery till Friday, but once a week is all we can get on our fat cattle arena anyway. Box beef cutout values were higher. Your weighted average on all of last week's sales on choice cuts was up 416 compared to the previous week's weighted average at 298.53. And then I told you your late Friday sales were over $300, over $300.50. So they were more than $2 higher. Now your dressed weighted average, or your select weighted average on all cutouts on selects was up but only 16 cents at 286.36, and that's just about what they ended the week at. So we're starting to see that choice select spread grow. Why? Because we're starting to get some early grilling interest there. And so it was up over $12 where it was down around $8 a week ago. But that's all based on 609 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter last week was disappointing. I told you last week it was going to be less than 600,000, and it was significantly less. 593,000, only 2,000 head harvested on Saturday. It's ridiculous. But that 593 was down 15,000 from the previous week and down 21,000 from the same week a year ago. How long these packers can get by on slowing these chain speeds down to nothing, and then they just keep bringing in foreign meat to fill the lower orders, or the plainer kind of quality orders, and they're getting enough on just the few that they're slaughtering to fill the the rib orders there, but pretty significant whenever they slow things down, and eventually they may try to work themselves out of this tight cattle supply that we're in, but I don't know how they're going to do it. 15,000 head at a time, something like that. They're already making people, they're giving them the carrot to make the carcasses bigger and bigger and bigger, and in some cases even giving premiums to make heavyweight cattle that they've always discounted before. And I mean, we're always willing to do that. Well, give us a market and we'll flood it. That's the farmers and the ranchers' one downfall there. But we're running right here where supply and demand, the supplies are getting extremely tight, and now we're getting into the spring of the year with an early spring, demand shooting up. We could see this thing really go off the rails. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction late in the week, or ending the week, at 246.17. That was up a smooth $3 from the end of the previous week. 246.17. Your CME cash feeder cattle index, the latest available, was 245 even. So it's got some going up to do, and it hasn't registered any of those big high sales from Friday or Saturday yet. So it's going to go up quite a bit. Cash feeders in your sales last week, your feeder cattle going right into the feed yard were $2 to $6 higher. Calves $8 to $15 higher. Once again, big late week gains. And your Friday and Saturday sales are usually the red-headed stepchildren of your sale barns of the days they sell, because late in the week you usually don't want to have a sale barn late in the week like that. But here lately, the last month or so, those Friday and Saturday sales have been seeing all the gains, and then the gains aren't quite as sharp early in the week, and then they get them again at the end of the week again. But your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day was Winter Livestock Auction in Winter, South Dakota on Friday. They had about 3,000 head there. My friend Nick Hayes is part owner there. He keeps me up to date with what's going on there at Winter. And I pulled this automated market report out of Cattle Market Central so you could just see how impressive it was as a whole. But at Winter Livestock Auction, Winter, South Dakota, look at your best tested weights. 362 head of 5-weight steers, average 562, with a weighted average price of $329.52. 510 head of 6-weight steers, average 646 at $297.73. There were just over 500 head of 7-weight steers in Winter, South Dakota. They had an average weight of 736, weighted average price $265.10. How about 281 head of 8-weight steers in Winter, average $856, weighted average price on all of them $242.28. Wow. How about some heifers? 196 heifers in the 5-weight group, average 565 at $293.19. Almost 500 head of 6-weight heifers, average 656 at $263.97. And 180 head of 7-weight heifers, average 754 at $243.26. Very impressive. Congratulations to those guys at Winter Livestock Auction in Winter, South Dakota. Got several outstanding quotes, individual quotes to give you. How about Burwell Livestock Market in Burwell, Nebraska? DVAuction broadcaster there. 60 head of steers weighed 820 at $250.50. How about Santa Teresa Livestock Auction? My buddy Tato Medina Wallace down there runs that sale barn right on this side of the border, Santa Teresa, New Mexico. He's got that sale barn humming. 113 head of Mexican steers coming across, 514 pounds, bring $320. Might sound cheap enough for you guys to get some. It's just like the old Cocoon, the movie Cocoon. They don't get sick and they don't ever die. You remember Wilford Brimley saying that if you're as old as I am. How about Pay's Public Auction Yards in Billings, Montana? 81 head, 622 pound steers bring $328.50. Wow. How about Bowman Livestock Marketing in Bowman, North Dakota? 70 steers weighed 432, bring $3.99. I guess if they thought if they hit them one more time, they might get fired as an order buyer, but it's coming, guys. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere late last week or over the weekend in your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Erickson Livestock Market in Erickson, Nebraska, was the Lowry Ranch steers. They weighed 707 and bring 292. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.